This is the chemical coordination and integration chapter where we are discussing the human endocrine system. Now, the mammalian endocrine system has various types of endocrine glands, and these glands are playing a major role in the chemical coordination of the body. Now, when we see over here that the three glands, that is hypothalamus, pituitary, and the pineal gland, they are associated with the brain. Whereas the other glands, that is the thyroid gland, the parathyroid, and the thymus gland, are associated with the pharynx and the branchial pouches, that is in the thoracic region. Whereas the pancreas, adrenals, and the gonads, that is the ovary and the testis, are found in the coelom region. So there is a categoric differentiation or the placement of these glands where they function. Now, we'll first start with the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is actually the basal part of a forebrain, that is diencephalon, and it has special neurosecretory cells which are known as nuclei. And the hypothalamus is very important because it regulates a lot of activities, and it's providing a connecting link between the nervous system to the endocrine system. And this is brought about with the help of pituitary gland. So hypothalamus is a connecting link, and it brings about its action with the help of pituitary gland. So these neurosecretory cells called as nuclei, they actually produce hormones. And these hormones help in regulating the secretions of the pituitary gland, which is our master gland. So they help in regulating the activity of the pituitary gland. The hormones which are produced by the hypothalamus are categorized or are divided into two depending upon what kind of action they are bringing about in the pituitary. So they first is the releasing hormones, and the second is the inhibiting hormones. And you can make out from the name, that is the releasing hormones will actually stimulate the secretions. So they stimulate secretions of pituitary. Whereas the inhibiting hormones actually inhibit or reduce the secretion. So they inhibit secretions of pituitary. Both are opposite in action. Now, we can understand this by example. A hormone which is known as gonadotropin hormone, or we also call it as example GnRH, that is gonadotropin releasing hormone, stimulates the pituitary, and it increases the pituitary, in turn help in the release of gonadotropins, that is the hormones which will be released by the ovary and the testis. So GnRH is released by the hypothalamus, which is actually the releasing hormone, or it activates. So it will activate pituitary, which in turn will have increased production of gonadotropin hormones. So this is overall, when we see over here, there is an increased secretion of the hormones, and due to the stimulation of the pituitary by the releasing hormones. Now, inhibiting hormone, one example is the release of somatostatin. There is an hormone which is produced by the hypothalamus, that is somatostatin. Now, this hormone is secreted by the hypothalamus, which then acts to the uh, pituitary, and it inhibits the release of growth hormone. So, it deactivates or inhibits pituitary, and over here stop growth hormone release. So you can make out that there is a distinct difference in the bringing of their functioning. Now, these hormones reach the pituitary gland because hypothalamus is closely associated with the pituitary. Both the glands are associated, and it is connected through a portal circulatory system, which is a part of systemic circulation, and it regulates the function of anterior pituitary, that is pars distalis. So hypothalamus is regulating the activity of pars distalis, whereas the posterior pituitary is directly under the neural control by hypothalamus. So both of the systems are, both the parts of the pituitary gland are regulated, or the function of the pituitary gland is finally located or controlled by the hypothalamus. The coming on to the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is also known as the master gland because it helps in regulating overall the activity of most of the endocrine glands, and plays and releases a lot of important hormones. It is situated in a bony cavity which is known as sella turcica, and it is attached to the hypothalamus with the help of a stalk. So, stalk is a narrow connection that is between the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, and it is divided into two major parts, that is adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. So, these two portions form the pituitary. Further, adenohypophysis is having anterior pituitary, or we call it as pars distalis, and the posterior pituitary, that is known as pars intermedia. Now, these two parts have different functions. The pars distalis part of the pituitary helps in releasing the growth hormone, the prolactin, that is the PRL, the TSH, that is thyroid stimulating hormone, then the ACTH, that is adrenocorticotropic hormone, luteinizing hormone, and the follicle stimulating hormone. When we study the function of each of these hormones, the growth hormones actually regulates the growth of the organism. So if the growth hormone, that is we call it as GH, and it is also known as somatotropic hormone. So GH is also known as somatotropic hormone, and this hormone mainly regulates the growth activity. If it is secreted more, then it stimulates or it results into the abnormal growth of the body of an organism. That is known as gigantism, and the lower secretion results in dwarfism, that is the growth is highly reduced, so that is known as dwarfism. The prolactin, actually it is also known as lactogenic hormone. So prolactin is also known as lactogenic hormone, and it regulates the growth of the mammary glands, the formation of the milk within the mammary glands within the mammals. So it is therefore called as prolactin hormone. The TSH, or the thyroid stimulating hormone, actually helps in the synthesis and secretion of the thyroid hormones which are produced by the thyroid gland. Then adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH, It is also known as corticotropin. So, this hormone also regulates the synthesis and the secretion of glucocorticoids, which is again affecting the adrenal cortex, that is the adrenal gland. So, over here, ACTH is also important in the secretion of steroidal hormones. LH and FSH, that is the luteinizing hormone and the follicle stimulating hormone, these are together known as gonadotropic hormone. These hormones actually have different roles. The LH actually stimulates the synthesis and secretion of hormone which is known as androgen within the testis. So LH actually acts in males, and in FSH and androgen in the males help in the spermatogenesis, that is the formation of the sperms. Whereas in the females, the LH, that is the luteinizing hormone, helps in the process of ovulation, and the FSH helps in the development or the maturation of the ovarian follicles. That helps during the proper development of the ova. Now, the pars intermedia region of the pituitary gland secretes only one hormone, that is known as melanocyte. It is, that is MSH, melanocyte stimulating hormone. Now, this hormone has the cells which are known as melanocytes, and these secrete the melanin, that is which has a role in the pigmentation of the skin. Then the neurohypophysis region. This we have talked about the adenohypophysis, the role of adenohypophysis. Neurohypophysis secretes two hormones, oxytocin and the vasopressin. Oxytocin has a major role uh, in contraction of the uterus at the time of childbirth in the case of females. So it is mainly acting on the smooth muscle cells of the body, and also it helps in the egestion of the milk from the mammary gland. Vasopressin is an antidiuretic hormone. Why we are saying that? Because it acts on the kidney and has a major role in the reabsorption of water. So vasopressin will play a major role in the reabsorption of water as the urine passes through the tubular system of the kidney, and therefore it is known as antidiuretic hormone as it causes the contraction. So these hormones of the pituitary gland are regulating the various activities of the organism. The third important gland which is found in the brain region is the pineal gland, and it is also known as epiphysis cerebri. The pineal gland is a very small gland which is located on the sides of a forebrain, and it secretes a hormone which is known as melatonin. This melatonin is found to control the diurnal rhythm, that is the 24-hour rhythm of the body, and in maintaining the normal rhythmic cycle of the sleep and the wake cycle, because it is sensitive towards the light. So therefore melatonin actually helps in maintaining the diurnal rhythm of the body. That is, it also maintains the body temperature, metabolism, the pigmentation, the menstrual cycle, and as well as the immunity. So pineal gland, in spite of being a very small and tiny gland, plays a major role in bringing about the proper functioning of the